Thanks for coming back. Did you cross-check your notes here? And did you identify your peanut butter for number 43 and 48? Well, let's move on to graphing. Much more exciting. Identifying amplitude, period, frequency, and the midline, and then eventually you're going to create this beautiful graph. And when you're graphing, I want you to remember that I always want you to label for me, label, always 5 critical points. And we're going to talk about what those critical points are. So don't worry if you don't understand it just yet, okay? Now, I'm going to also identify some things or specify some things like give me the window negative 3 pi to 3 pi. That means however your graph however long it is for one cycle, I want you to show me from negative 3 pi to 3 pi. That all the way from negative 3 pi to 3 pi, I want you to show me what your graph looks like. And then the negative 4 to 4 just tells you from negative 4 to 4 the amplitude, okay? But honestly, let's just focus on graphing for now, okay? Let's just focus on graphing, okay? So let's do the same thing. First step, peanut butter and duh, okay? Now, you're right. If it's in the SCD form, there is no midline shift. But why are we doing D? I mean, it's just good practice, okay? Amplitude, it's 3, okay? And just remember that the amplitude is actually an absolute value because it's the height. Even if Miss Chang is really, really short, she can't be a negative height, right? So you have to remember, it's a height, so it's going to be positive. Period is going to be 2 pi over b because it's a sine function. B is, oh, you know what? We should do this. Y equals, let's rewrite this. I'm going to take out the 1/2 and put an x there on its own. I always practice rewriting this. Trust me, it's going to help you later, okay? It's going to help you identify. Wait, that means the frequency, or b, is half. Wait, what does that mean? Wait, original sine function, STD, looks like that, right? But if only half of it shows in 2 pi. Isn't that what it means? Okay? So that means in this amount, this is 2 pi, right? But it's saying that it only shows you half of this graph in 2 pi. So that means in our problem, what does that mean? In 2 pi, it's only going to show us this. That's what it's saying. Only this portion here. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, it's okay, because you could be more literal and just graph, okay? So now 2 pi over b, so let's finish. 2 pi over 1/2, that means it's going to be 4 pi. What does that mean? Each cycle for our graph, right? For our graph is going to be 4 pi long. STD is 2 pi. That means our graph has slowed down a lot. It takes us longer to finish one cycle. That's what it's saying, okay? Now, midline is going to be 0. Therefore, y equals 0, okay? All right, let's start sketching. Now, these are pretty basic graphs without transformation. So I want you to take this information and start sketching. And if I confuse you by like doing all this work, if you understand it that way, you can graph it that way all you want, okay? But for these, let's do it from here. There was no left or right shift, right? It starts at 0. So we know we start at 0, okay? And you know, what's nice is this. If you understand all the frequency and the period, then you should be able to graph it just by your gist. But you know what we should do? We should do this. You know how a sine graph always has a mid? It starts at the mid, goes to the max, mid, min, and max. Let's actually do that. I don't know. Let's actually just go ahead and draw some 5 dots. Okay? That's because that's what it's going to look like. That's what it's going to look like. Okay? And then let's actually label our max, which is 3 because the amplitude, right? And negative 3 because that's our minimum. Okay? And let's actually go sketch it, but be smooth. Be smooth. Okay? Not so rigid. Okay? And that's going to say what? One cycle ends at 4 pi because our period is 4 pi. Of course, later I'm going to show you how to graph differently. But for now, do you understand what just happened? And then label the rest. What's half of 4 pi? 2 pi. What's between 0 and 2 pi? Pi. So that's going to be pi 3. That's going to be 0, 0, 2 pi, and 0, right? And what's between 2 pi and 4 pi? Exactly. 3 pi and negative 3 because the amplitude. if you can do that, then you're in pretty good shape. And that's the 5 critical points. Why is it the 5 critical points? Because it tells you the mid, the max, the min, and so forth, okay? Now let's do the left side too. Let's do the left side too. So I'm going to do it with a different marker. Again, I'm going to go, it's mid here, right? Isn't it mid here? That means you're going to go, right? Oh, you're going to go, oh, sorry. Space it out evenly as possible. I think this is bothering me, but it's fine, okay? I'm going to go, let's go min. Sorry, I'm going to move that -3, okay? Min, mid, max, and mid again. So let's sketch that. I know it's not scaled perfectly. Don't hate, okay? But you know that graph supposed to look the same, okay? Symmetric, okay? Sorry. Don't show anybody this, okay? Just kidding. This is, again, -4 pi, right? Because our graph, right, one cycle, because this is still one cycle, even though it doesn't start at 0. This kind of continues, right? So you know what you should do? It's really important that whenever you graph periodic functions that you draw an arrow. Because periodic means that it repeats itself, okay? So again, it's 4 pi, so it's going to be 3 pi, -3 pi, and the max. It's going to be 2 pi, negative, and 0. And then here it's going to be pi, negative, and -3. And then we have the critical points. But you're right. Maybe some of you guys are being really critical and you're saying, but I thought you wanted the window to be -3 pi to 3 pi. So again, you can cut it off here if you want to. Okay? That's to check to see that you understand the actual interval notations. Okay? That was a little bit confusing, so let's try one more. Okay? We're going to try one more together. Okay? All right, let's try one more together. Let's try one more. I think you'll get it better next time. Okay? So don't panic just yet. You're right. I'm not doing anything fancy with the graphing. I'm simply identifying and then kind of like playing around with the numbers and see what it looks like compared to the standard form. Let's go here. Well, this one's going to be way more exciting, guys. First step, peanut butter, duh. And I know that my midline is 0, so y equals 0, so y equals 0. I didn't identify that earlier, but I'm going to do that now. Now, amplitude it's 3, watch this. This amplitude is actually 3/2. Because amplitude cannot be negative. It's actually the absolute value, right? Because it's the height. So I'm going to put 3/2. Okay? Period is going to be 2 pi over b, which is going to be, oh, let's rewrite this. Y equals -3/2 cosine 2x. I love rewriting. Wait, oh my God, the 2 outside, it's already telling me that in 2 pi, this graph, this cosine graph is going to happen 2 times in 2 pi. That means this length, we'll see, okay? It's going to happen twice. So let's see. That means it's pi. Each length or each duration, each period cycle is pi long. That's what it's saying. So, and a frequency is 2, okay? If you understand the peanut butter really well, then I think you'll be able to graph much easier, okay? Now, let's start graphing, step 2, okay? And we're going to start graphing just like we did for the first one. Again, oh, wait a minute though. This is a cosine is a negative. Wait, this cosine is a, oh, sorry. This cosine is a negative, right? That means it's not going to go like this. It's going to go like that, okay? So this means it's going to go start from the minimum. Okay, it's going to start from the minimum and then go up. What's one cycle? And then it's going to do it again. Okay? It's going to start from the minimum. So we know that this graph, the amplitude is -3/2 and 3/2. So let's just start there. I'm only going to do one cycle for this graph, so I'm not going to use the left side, okay? You know that it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 5 critical points. Tell me, how long is my cosine graph for this particular problem? It's going to go from 0. The period is pi, right? So it's going to be pi here. Okay? So pi, -3/2. 0, -3/2. Okay? And let's actually sketch that really nicely for now. Remember, it has to be a nice curve. Don't be so rigid. Oh my God, that's ugly. Let's do that again. Okay? Oh, I'm so sorry. And if you're having trouble graphing these, you might want to sketch more points. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to do that again on this side too. Okay? Like that. But this is one cycle right here. I'm going to highlight the one cycle here. Min to min. If it's a negative cosine graph, it's going to be min to min, okay? So min to min, I'm going to label all my critical points. It's going to be what? Oh, this is tricky dicky, so let's actually think about this. But wait, One cycle is pi long, right? Tell me, what's half of pi? You're right, it's half of pi. Literally, 1/2 and then the max. Okay? But what's between 0 and pi over 2? It's going to be pi over 4. And then it's going to be 0. And then again here, it's going to be 3 pi over 4 and then 0. And those are your 5 critical points. And you could actually sketch this for me, but you don't have to label any more points, just the 5 critical points. But your 5 critical points could be here or here. I don't care. But as long as you label 5 critical points. Okay, now try one graphing on your own. Okay, good luck. Okay, I'll give you a few problems to practice. Bye.